Introduction. When I told people I was writing a book about emotions using concepts from cooking and eating, curiosity ensued because it was an unusual approach. In my mind, the relationship was a natural fit. What is involved with cooking? Ingredients, recipes, a kitchen, chefs that prepare the food, and servers that deliver it to the guests. How does this relate to emotions? Perceptions are the ingredients. Past experiences provide the recipes. The brain is the kitchen housing the cooking instructions, and neurons act like chefs preparing the meal. We even have servers that deliver the final dish to the body. Lastly, we taste it when we connect to the body's signals that tell us what's cooking. Recall a memory, and as your mind reproduces the event, your body will feel the associated emotion. Your first kiss, the time you got fired, the award you won, or the day someone you love died. Even our imagination can create a desirable or undesirable scenario, and an emotion will arise. This is why our experiences or imaginations are the recipes for our emotions, and what we perceive from our sensory systems are the ingredients. Emotions are the first reaction to the stimulus, not our thoughts or intellect. This is why identifying and modifying our emotion recipes, as I call them, is so important. The connection between food and emotions is relatable and consumable, pun intended. Food can taste yucky and we can feel yucky or disagreeable. Yummy foods are incredibly delicious and evoke feelings of satisfaction. Savory foods are more salty or spicy than sweet, like a steak or a bowl of chili, just like a spicy or a salty mood. And sweet, the word says it all regarding food and feelings. As a kid, I felt happy snacking on my grandmother's homemade fudge made from scratch. She didn't know how to cook from a box. With food, if it doesn't taste good, we blame the chef. Much in the same way, many of us blame others for emotions that don't feel good. While yes, our surroundings provide the ingredients or the perceptions from the people and things around us, we are the ones with the recipes. These are prior experiences we use to construct our current emotions. While it might be easier to spare our ego by blaming someone else, it leaves us helpless to the actions of others. The idea behind an emotion recipe is that we can modify or stop cooking it altogether. But to change it, you must be able to taste it. After all, how would a chef know if the dish isn't suitable without tasting it? Because of years spent developing their palate and their cooking skills, they can quickly determine if the dish is good to go or if it's missing something. I propose the same is true with emotions. As we develop our emotional palate and our cooking skills, tasting the flavors of our emotions or identifying our feelings becomes more manageable. Taste our feelings? Yes. When we taste food or drink, we perceive the flavors. It is a sensory experience, and so are our emotions. The world and our body constantly provide incoming sensory data that the brain must interpret, including what we consume in food and drink. The same is also true of our emotional experiences. With its 100 billion neurons containing 100 trillion connections, the brain determines the meaning of sensory signals, making a best guess or prediction of what they mean. It is a guesstimate of what we see, hear, taste, feel, think, and our behaviors. I will share some of the wacky ways our brain predicts our sensory signals and filters what we deem as reality. We taste our emotions when we can perceive the signals our body sends us, communicating our feelings. But here's the part I never thought about until I started on the journey leading to this book. Emotions come in two flavors. We have the feelings that tell us we are hungry, thirsty, tired, need to use the restroom, or notice our beating heart. Our heart always beats, but we only feel it when the brain wants our attention. We also have the feelings that tell us we are happy, in love, angry, or mad. It can be easy to get these two quote-unquote flavors of feelings mixed up. Are we tired or are we sad? We feel these two kinds of emotions because of a sensory system called interoception, or the sense of how we feel inside. Many people will read the word interoception and confuse it with the word interception, as when a football player catches the other team's ball. Think of interoception, or awareness of those internal signals, as how you catch your feelings. You will be very familiar with this term by the end of the book because it is super important to our mental and physical health. You will also understand why and how our feeling states entangle with our physical condition, how a change in our emotions instantly impacts our immune system, why our physical state determines how well our brain can predict our feelings, and how we affect the emotions of others and vice versa. Interoceptive awareness helps us listen to the waves of communication from our bodies. It also allows us to listen to our intuition, our instinctive guide that tells us to go one way or another. We all have it, but not all of us trust it. As you connect to what it feels like when your intuition is correct and how it feels when you are wrong, your awareness increases, giving you confidence in your decision. How do we transition from blaming others for our feelings to owning them? It seems natural since external things and people are the source of our irritations, sorrows, and anger. We can make this shift by blaming the chefs of our emotions. That might sound contradictory, but hear me out. In our house, we use a communication tool where we blame one of the dogs instead of blaming each other. Finney didn't fix the toilet seat like he said he would a week ago, is an example of how I tell my husband he still hasn't kept a promise. He will do similarly with me when I leave stuff around the house, or he calls it a trail of my things. In the case of the toilet seat, we both know that Finnegan and his sister Fiona, two of the cutest dogs to ever walk this earth, are not to blame. But using them depersonalizes the complaint and tricks our egos most of the time. In the same way, we can blame the emotion chef in our head. Only the chef works directly for us, and it is up to us to manage what gets produced, unlike Finney, who will never fix the toilet seat. As we increase our knowledge of how perception works and how we can work with it to manage how we feel, we begin to understand ourselves better and to gain confidence in our ability to identify and regulate our emotions. It is empowering. At least it has been for me. And it makes it easier for me to own my emotions. I need to be very clear because I prefer to build trust between you and me. This is not medical advice, nor am I a licensed mental health care provider. I'm not a scientist. I am just insatiably curious. The observations in this book are based on my discovery and the methodology that helped me. Also, it is essential to understand, because I refer to a bit of science in this book, that everything understood to be true in science is based on facts, experiments, and observations. Some theories are more well proven than others. Theories remain until evidence proves them otherwise. For example, at one point in time, the Earth was believed to be flat. You might be surprised that people still believe this to be true. Blogs from the Flat Earth Society contain the Flat Earth's mathematics and how they believe Einstein's theory of relativity proves the Earth is flat. The point is, it is rare to have 100% consensus on anything, even something seemingly rock solid like the shape of the Earth. What I'm presenting is partly based on the theory of constructed emotions. This theory and other theories presented are all works in progress. That's good, as we still have much to learn about life and the world around us. Some theories have been tested repeatedly and are considered factual based on their accuracy. While writing this book, I made great effort to gather what I knew to be the latest and greatest, along with getting insights from various sources that I cite throughout. If you were to ask me why you should read this book, I would respond that it is an intuitive way to learn about emotions. It uses something that most of us are familiar with: cooking meals from a recipe, having it served, and consuming it. I wanted to create something that made relating to emotions more comfortable. Even though more and more people are talking about feelings, especially after COVID-19, the ability to identify them still seems to be a struggle, let alone talk about them. It is great to say to someone, "You need to feel empathy," or "You need to show love and compassion." But what if you don't know how to feel those feelings? Or you are afraid to? For these reasons, the book contains a progression for developing emotional awareness. My goal is to destigmatize emotions, offer a pathway to feeling and understanding them, and learn why your feelings aren't always true, even when they feel that way. I'm always asked, who's your target market? It seems that I must have a demographic for marketing. My answer? Humans. Well, a very broad answer. The fact is that we all use what we perceive to make sense of our world and formulate what we think, feel, and how we behave. It would be great if we could trust everything we perceive, but you're about to discover why this is not always the case. Misperceptions, or underperceiving, which is not capturing more of a situation or event, can make communication and relationships of every kind difficult, thus hopefully making the phrase, "feelings aren't facts," easier to swallow. Yes, again, pun intended. Emotions are universally considered complex, and while I would never claim to have all the answers, I don't need to. You have them. What love means for me is different than it is for you. To be clear, I am not talking about the dictionary definition. I'm referring to the way you use sensory experiences. For instance, the ingredients you need to feel love are different from mine. We each have our unique recipe, which might be emotionally nutritious or give us an emotional bellyache. And that is why I believe the processes in this book are so helpful. We can change our recipes. For the emotionally avoidant, I am not recommending you start with a deep dive into your feelings. You can skim the surface at first until you feel comfortable. Discomfort with feelings is why Chapter 9 contains the levels of what I call emotion chefs, which are similar to the levels of chefs in many restaurants. In my opinion, you must be comfortable for anything to be helpful. I'm not saying you won't leave your comfort zone. It's more like easing into it. This book contains a wide variety of information from many intelligent people who spend their lives studying the various aspects of being human. For them, I am so grateful. You will find some big words and perhaps some crazy ideas, but I provide the foundation for what I'm sharing and try to boil it down to simpler terms. I also provide a glossary that you can refer to as you read, should you need. The first few chapters offer an informational foundation. Think of this knowledge as one of the tools for increasing your quote-unquote kitchen skills. The best place to start is where it all begins: perception.